Update. Would I be the a-hole if I refused to have intimacy with my husband? Original post. Around mid-August of 2019, me 28 female and my husband 35 male tied a knot between us. He has 2 kids from his previous marriage. He and his ex-wife are co-parenting their kids. I really love the kids. One of the major factors why I got married with him was kids. I have reasons for that. My father died when I was 15. My mom wasn't so highly educated, so with that last education qualification, she couldn't provide for me and my other 3 younger brothers all alone. So I started to do part-time jobs. I babysat, cleaned people's yard, took out pets for walk, did assignments of my classmates, etc. I earned really little money with that, but it helped my family a little bit. When I was 17, I took a food delivery job. One night, around 10 or 11, I was dropping food at the other side of the city. A drunk driver hit my cycle and I went into a terrible accident. The driver needed to pay a large fine for that since my condition was very critical. I had a lot of internal bleeding and damage. So because of that accident, the doctor confirmed that in the future the chances of me getting pregnant is very small, that it'll be a miracle for me to have my own kid. I was at the lowest part of my life because of that accident. I couldn't go out or do my work on my own. My family took care of me. It took me around 8 months to get well. At first, I didn't mind having a childless life, but when I started to notice my friends having families, I realized the beauty of motherhood. So I started dating guys with kids. My husband was my second boyfriend. We tied knot after we dated for 10 months. When I got married, his son was 11 and his daughter was 7. I got along with them well. It took them a few months before they started to call me mama on their own. I left my job to be the stay-at-home mom for them. Honestly, I really adore them. I have a good relationship with their bio mom too. After COVID, we went to Belgium for our 2nd anniversary on 2021. The trip was all good and I remember feeling so loved. The day before we were supposed to come back to our home, he proposed the idea of opening our marriage. If I say I was hurt, will be an understatement. I couldn't look in his eyes without feeling hollow and sorrow. I said no multiple times after coming back from the trip, but he kept persisting. And after a couple of weeks, I gave up and agreed. He set the terms. I don't remember most of it, but few of his terms was to never share this information with others. We can't date our exes or friends, no emotional attachment with our partners, and always use protection. In his words, he still loves me. He only opened the marriage because he wanted to gain experience and use it in our marriage. I remember going to sleep hurt and crying all night. I gave up my job to take care of him and the kids, yet he yearned for another woman. We became distant. He noticed that and tried to initiate intimacy with me, but I don't feel anything at all. I just lay there until he is done. I also distanced myself from him. The idea of him having intimacy with other women while being in a marriage with me disgusted me. I couldn't look at him the same way I used to. We always have our location on so I could see where he is going. Those used to hurt me a lot until I became completely numb at this point. Now I don't see him as my husband, but someone I tied knots with to be a mother. Last year, I told him I want to start to work again. He got kinda defensive. He listed some reasons to explain why I can't work. And when he saw that all his tricks weren't working, he pulled the kids into the mess. He knew I have soft spots for his kids, but I didn't back down that time. He gave me a cold shoulder and went on a trip with one of his girlfriends. I applied to be a teacher at my brother's high school. He is the youngest of all my siblings and a sophomore. I'm teaching chemistry at a school. My husband was mad at me for having a job for a few months, but he relented and I started to give myself more alone time. Since the kids have extracurricular activities, they always don't stay at home. I have a friend circle from high school. I hang out with them every 2 weeks. I met a guy in my workplace. He is 29 and have 3 kids with his late wife. One day, I ranted about my whole situation. He showed interest in me after that. He is a nice guy. I went on few dates with him. Nothing physical happened between us. I think I am relying on him for mental support since he is very supportive of me. I haven't felt something like that for a long time in my life. Now, a few days ago, I went to the salon and cut my hair short to shoulder length. My husband complimented me multiple times that day. The kids went to their grandparents' house for summer vacation. During the night, he tried to initiate intimacy. Well, I straight up said no for the first time. I think he was taken aback. He had mixed expressions that I can't put a finger on. He started to use the husband card on me, and I put my foot down and said no. We had a huge argument, and he left. I saw his location. He went to one of his girlfriend's place. He didn't contact me for 2 days now. Now I'm conflicted. Even if I don't feel anything towards him, he is still my husband. I can't share this with anyone, so I need advice on this. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Info: is having children really worth a husband who demanded an open marriage and did not want to have financial independence? It wasn't like that from the early days. After COVID, I noticed some changes, but didn't really pay any attention. That time, all I wanted was to have a child to raise like my own. Before him, I dated another guy with a kid. He was nice, but he had a lot of issues. Plus, I resigned from my previous workplace on my own volition. I really wanted to devote myself to the kid's life. It was a mistake, but now I have a job which pays me double the amount than before. I still love the kids. They're all I could ask for in children. He was already cheating. He just wanted permission after the fact. Leave now. Girl, the marriage was over when he proposed an open marriage. Just divorce. Love yourself more. A man who truly loves his wife doesn't go outside a marriage for anything. Your husband just wants a stable life at home and someone to watch his kids when they're there and have his fun with another woman. He's selfish. Get some therapy, divorce, and live your life. And once you heal yourself, you'll be blessed with a man who truly loves only you. Don't waste any more time and tears on that man. Plus, he wanted her to be financially dependent, so she couldn't leave. And wanting to gain more experience for her sake? What a crock. OP, if you see these posts, take the suggestions. Leave him. He is using you as a live-in babysitter. Now for the first update. Last night I made a post about my current situation of my marriage and asked for an unbiased view. There are almost 300 people who responded and gave me advice. I couldn't respond to any of them since I was overwhelmed with emotions. There are a few things I want to clarify. Firstly, I met my husband after my graduation when I was looking for a job. I made things official with him after I had a job. We dated for 10 months before getting married. Secondly, his ex-wife and him were childhood sweethearts who married each other when they were in college. After the birth of their second child, they realized they don't have the same bond, so they got divorced and have 50-50 custody. Thirdly, few people in my previous post asked me to make things official with my coworker. I would do that when I'm ready. Currently, my mental health isn't in the best state. I'm working on it. Plus, I can't have intimacy with anyone whom I barely know. We've been co-workers about almost a year, but still I am not ready to take that step yet. Lastly, those who are saying I am using sex as a punishment, it's quite opposite. He barely comes home. He is always out with the kids or his girlfriends. I would love to add that he doesn't have just one, but 3 girlfriends. And yes, all of them are aware of my existence. Now to the update. Last night, I made a post about the current situation of my marriage with my husband, asking if I would be the a-hole if I refused to have intimacy. He hasn't come back in the last 3 days or contacted me. The kids talk with me daily. I had few conversation with their bio mom too. They're over at our parents' place. Honestly, I thought he will get over it or won't bother me for a long time. But I was very wrong. During lunch, my mom came over to visit me. She asked if everything was okay between me and my husband. I didn't lie this time. I straight up said no. We had a long conversation about my marriage and I was relieved after that. It felt so good after sharing everything with her. I am not ashamed to admit I cried like a kid in her arms while explaining everything. She stayed with me the entire day. Then she called one of my younger brothers, 26, and told him everything. Saying he was mad would be an understatement. She asked why the heck I would suffer that much and scolded me for a couple of minutes. With the help of my mom and brother, I packed my stuffs. I didn't leave with any of the things he got me. Most likely, we will get a divorce soon. I texted a short message in his number thanking him for being my husband, and I won't be continuing the marriage anymore, along with some personal stuffs between us. With the help of my friend and family, currently I am finding a lawyer. I don't know how long it'll take me to finally get out of the marriage. I left the house around evening and sent the messages around 7. After that, I muted his number. I also told his ex-wife about this. And needless to say, she was as much surprised as everyone, because it wasn't like that. She assured me that even after divorce, she will let me see the kids. I am really grateful for that part. Divorcing him will be easy since we always had separate accounts. I have little savings. Before I get on my own feet properly, I will be staying with my mom in our old house. I turned off my location before leaving his house, but it won't be long until he figures out where I am. He is currently messaging me, but I'm not strong enough to open them and read them, so I haven't responded or read his texts. Well done. If he gets upset, just remind him that he was the one who ruined the marriage by cheating. I say cheating because an open marriage only works if both partners are willing. A one-sided open marriage is just cheating. I hope OP listens to this. She did not agree to this and was browbeaten into submission. That's not an open marriage. He's been cheating on her and trying to justify himself. I know she needs her family to be strong for her right now, but hopefully soon she learns how strong she is and stands up to him and his BS. Good for you. You deserve a life where you are respected and your feelings validated. You will find true happiness as long as you keep advocating for yourself. Seriously, I'm so glad that OP followed what I read most people tell her. She deserves so much better. I must say, I will never understand why someone who is monogamous would ever agree to open a relationship in an effort to appease their spouse and save the relationship. It's over the moment they suggest it, and you might as well save yourself the time and pain of trying to work through it and divorce immediately at that point. Second update. Hi, it's me again. Thank you for all the support you guys gave on my previous post. I would write everything briefly as my lawyer suggested not to share anything too much. I got a lawyer the day after I left the house. He told me not to worry about anything currently. The divorce proceedings started a few days ago. My soon-to-be ex received the paper and he went ballistic. There were several emotional episodes from him. The proceedings will take time to conclude, at least 90 days. We had a prenup before marriage, so I won't be getting any of the assets. I don't want anything from him, plus my payment as a teacher is enough to fend for myself. I just want him to get out of my life and start everything over again. Lately, he have been messaging me a lot, telling me how he misses my cooking and stuff. It just weirds me out a lot, so I ignored his texts and calls. I only talk to him through lawyers. I used to feel trapped in this marriage, but now I feel a little bit free. Some relatives from his side contacted me. Mostly they're accusing me of letting him have his affairs. In their words, it's my fault that I couldn't tie my husband by the side and let him open the marriage. His mother sent few nasty texts, which I didn't expected from her since she's a woman too. I took screenshots of those. I might sue for harassment if anything goes further than just text messages or voicemails. He misses his bangmaid. Stay away from this guy. He's bad news. He wants you to cook, clean, and take care of his kids. He doesn't respect you. Get your divorce. See the kids through his ex-wife and go no contact with him. Check out the book Human Magnet Syndrome. It has very good information on narcissists and codependency. Edited to add, did he say just once that he missed you? Missed your presence? Or was it just, I miss your cooking and how you fold my laundry? I feel like that's all very telling in how he feels about you. It's a very long rant. I didn't even read everything. But basically he missed how I used to cook homemade food for him. He doesn't like stale food, so I used to cook fresh meals for him always. Overall, he misses me in his house. So he only misses the stuff you do for him. He's selfish. Not the a-hole OP. Be proud that you finally put yourself first. You are valuable and worth to be loved. It doesn't matter if you can't bear children. That's not your personality. You are more than your uterus. I hope you find someone who loves you for who you are and not for what you can provide. Labor, time, chores. Thank you so much for your kind words. All credit goes to everyone for my previous posts. It helps me realize what's right and what's wrong. Last story. Am I the a-hole? My son's dad is about to be homeless and I have an extra room, but I don't want him to live with me. I, 29 female, have an 11-year-old son. His father, 32 male, and I broke up 10 years ago. We have had a decent co-parenting relationship. Son lived with his dad and visited me on weekends/breaks. Until 2 years ago when I discovered that he'd been reported for truancy. His dad just wasn't putting him on a bus to school. Seems like he didn't want to wake up that early, so his dad would drive him to school 1 to 2 hours late a few times a week. Took my name off the school paperwork, so I wasn't informed until I called to get a copy of his report card. I immediately went to court and got primary custody. Son has been excelling in my school district. His grades have improved, and he's much happier. His dad still lives with his parents, and it's been obvious that he's getting more and more depressed. We keep getting called back to court because he's not paying child support. Hasn't had a job in over a year. This isn't an issue for me financially, as I have a very good job and I'm able to support our son by myself. The relationship between my son's dad and his parents has been awful lately. They're treating him like a child, and he doesn't seem to understand how much of a burden it must be for them to be supporting a grown man who doesn't contribute. For a year now, I've been encouraging him to get into therapy and offering to help him with his resume and applications. He accepts the help, but always has excuses on why now isn't a good time. Now, he is being kicked out. His parents gave him a notice to vacate and will likely be taking him to court to evict him if he doesn't leave. We've agreed in writing that our son will not be staying with him until he has a place to live, and my son is happy because his grandparents have been awful to him lately. Son's dad picks him up regularly to go to the park or the movies, and this is working for all of us for now. He claims he has nowhere to go, no one to stay with. He's applying to jobs now, but he doesn't groom himself. He smells bad every time I see him, and he wears dirty clothes. He hasn't had any success with interviews. I've tried talking to him about this stuff, and about getting into therapy once again, but he always has excuses that honestly don't make much sense. I just bought a house and it has an extra bedroom. I am insanely proud of myself. I love having this independence, not living in an apartment and having so much privacy. Some of my friends have been pointing out the obvious solution of offering him my extra bedroom until he gets on his feet. I'm half expecting him to bring this up himself at some point. But I don't want this. I don't want a roommate. I certainly don't want a roommate that struggles to hold down a job, doesn't clean himself, and will be parenting the child I've worked so hard to instill new responsible habits in. We have very different approaches to parenting, and it works well from a distance but would not work together. At the same time, I feel awful if my son's dad was homeless. But this is a result of his choices. I used the time without my son to create a good life for myself, and I don't understand why he won't do the same. I've been trying to give him resources for government assistance, 211, etc., but keep getting these excuses that make no sense whatsoever. Now for the comments. Letting him move in would immediately become one of the worst mistakes of your life. Not a-hole. I completely agree. I worked hard for this house for my son and I. Do not adopt their son just because his parents kicked him out. You already have one child to care for. And my child showers regularly. Update. A random girl has contacted me saying that my boyfriend of 2+ years violated her. What should I do about this? Original post. I've been with my boyfriend for 2 years. We live together and own a dog together. We love each other very much and get along like gangbusters. We are very intimate, like about 3 to 4 times a week, and my boyfriend has never ever done anything that made me feel even the slightest bit uncomfortable. He is very sweet, very loving man, and he has always stopped immediately during the act whenever I have shown even the slightest sign of discomfort. This past Friday, the two of us were out doing our own things as I went out to a bachelorette party. My boyfriend went to a party on campus at the university he attends. We talked Saturday and he told me the party was fun, but that nothing remarkable happened. Then this afternoon, I received a Facebook message from a girl who I do not know but who attends my boyfriend's school. Her message basically said that my boyfriend got her drunk at a party he attended Friday, and that he subsequently violated her. She feels like my boyfriend is dangerous and wants to warn me that he is an unsafe person to be around. I have not replied to the message or asked the girl any questions about her story yet, and I'm not sure if I should or not. I know that I need to talk to my boyfriend about this, but I am not sure how to go about it. I checked his Facebook friends list and they are not friends, and I've never heard her name mentioned before by my boyfriend or any of our mutual friends. I am not sure whether or not I believe this woman, but I don't feel like I can totally dismiss this and forget it ever happened. So help me. How do I ask my boyfriend about this? Should I message her back? And if so, what should I say? What should I do? Now for the top advice before reading the update. You never know what people will do, even people you know very, very well. This girl may be stalk crazy, she may have a legit claim, or she may be manipulating you for some reason. Whatever the case may be, tread lightly. Write her back. Tell her to go to the hospital and get a kit done. She doesn't have to talk to the police, but a hospital will probably send them over. I was a crisis counselor in college for a while, and this is what happens. She can call one of those services and have someone go with her if she wants. But this isn't about her. Either way, she should do this if she's serious, and then tell you about it. Maybe you should arrange to meet her in person, so you can look this girl in the eye while she tells you about this incident with your man. When you're ready to talk to him, you know him at this point. You'll be able to read his face and body language while you hear him speak. Maybe you did this thing or something close to it, or maybe you didn't. You'll know more when you speak to him. Do you trust him to be honest with you, no matter what? You or he should possibly bring this to the proper school authorities as well. Is this girl in a sorority? I don't really know where this kind of thing would be handled. Maybe the police if she's a crazy person, just so it's on record. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. You're going to have to do a lot of trusting your gut on this one, and that's incredibly hard. It might take you a long time to get over the seed of doubt that's been planted. I hope things work out for the better. I'm on board with the idea of telling her to get a kit done as well. I would definitely minimize contact with her though, and certainly don't agree to meet up with her. The best advice I would give otherwise is to seek advice from a professional on how to approach the situation. Collectively, Reddit may be very smart, but you need some pretty specific wisdom to handle the situation well, and are better off seeking it from someone with the proper training. Got her drunk at a party he attended Friday and that he subsequently violated her. Sadly, got her drunk and forced her usually translates as she got drunk, had consensual hookup, and then felt ashamed in the morning. Edit. I will post an update Thursday or Friday depending on when I have time. Thanks everyone. Now for the update. First of all, I want to thank everyone for their responses. I read every response and message and took all of it to heart. Here's what happened next. The morning after posting, I showed my boyfriend a message. He denied everything, but I could tell right away from his body language that something had happened between him and a girl. I asked him if he was okay with me talking with a girl in person or contacting the host of the party to ask about the girl's story. At first, he was really reluctant to let me investigate further. But after a while, he seemed resigned to the fact that I was going to get to the bottom of this one way or another. He told me that he understood why I was worried and that he was okay with me doing anything I could to set my mind at ease. I took that as a good sign and called the host of the party, who really didn't tell me much, just that my boyfriend and a girl were both there. I then arranged an in-person meeting with a girl. I met the girl for coffee. Once she was in front of me and I asked her face-to-face about whether she got a kit done, she changed her story a lot. She told me she had met my boyfriend at a party last Friday. She said that they spent the whole night drinking and talking. She said that after the party was over, she and my boyfriend went back to her apartment and ended up accidentally hooking up, whatever that means. She said she sent the message to me the next morning because she was upset when she looked him up on Facebook to friend him and saw that he had a long-term girlfriend. He apparently did not mention me once the entire night, and she was enraged that he used her like that. I told her that I thought that was more than just a little crazy, and she agreed, claiming that her crazy side just came out and she couldn't help but send me the message. I told her that it was very, very wrong to make false accusations like that, and that she should be completely ashamed of herself. She also said that she was really sorry for everything and that she would not contact me nor my boyfriend again. Needless to say, I went home and confronted my boyfriend. He admitted to everything and told me the exact same story as the girl. We broke up, and he is in the process of moving out of our apartment. I am devastated because I really loved and trusted this man, but I have too much self-respect to continue to deal with a cheater. I do not believe anyone hook up by accident, and being really drunk just isn't a good enough excuse for me. Anyways, thanks for everything, and don't worry, I'm getting tested for STDs tomorrow. What kind of girl pretends to get violated because she was angry? Does she not understand the ramifications of that? WTF? Your ex-boyfriend doesn't even deserve that kind of crazy. Congrats on moving on with your life. Good luck on the STD test. My ex stuck is drunk and crazy. Thanks. I'm just going to eat a lot of Ben & Jerry's, wallow for the weekend, and then move on with my life. It's hard and it hurts, but it's way better than being somebody's doormat. What a fantastic outlook on a crappy situation. Healthy, healing, and acknowledging the crappiness of the situation. You are clearly a rock star that will be amazingly better on the other side of the wallow weekend. Cheers to you, and eat some ice cream for me. You are an exceptionally mature woman. I really admire how you've dealt with this. Seriously, that's what I call emotional health. I'm sorry for what happened, but I'm sure that with this attitude, you'll find a deserving guy soon. I'm going to take a break from dating and try to enjoy being single for a little while. Being cheated on and going through so much really weird drama can take a toll on a person, and I don't want to jump into anything worse. Gotta clear my head. Next story. My 29 female, boyfriend 32 male gave away my Hamilton tickets. Am I being selfish for just wanting to break up over this? Backstory. My mom is genuinely one of the funniest, kindest, sweetest people I've ever met, and I'm genuinely lucky to have been her daughter. She had me fairly young, raised me by herself, and while we were pretty poor growing up, she did her darnest to make sure that I got a good education and had everything I needed as a kid. One of the things we share is a love of theater. She would save up and take me to all the musicals that stopped on tour in our town, and while we were always in the cheap seats, it was always something we both greatly looked forward to. These memories of going to the theater with my mom are very precious to me, and is one of the main factors in why I work in the entertainment industry today. Corporate side though, as I have a horrendous singing voice. Lol. Fast forward to today. Like most theater nerds, my mom and I are basically obsessed with Hamilton. And for those of you who aren't really familiar with it, the show is basically impossible to get tickets for at this point, unless you want to see it in January of next year. I'm lucky enough to be in a financial position with my job that I could afford tickets for a show in July for me and my mom. These are amazing seats, 5th row center. And through some type of divine intervention, I managed to snag tickets for the night that creators/lead in Hamilton Lin-Manuel Miranda's final performance. I surprised my mom with these tickets back in December for Christmas. I bought them in October, I think, and I'm making a whole week of it. I put us up in a really nice hotel. I made reservations at a bunch of restaurants that we both want to try, and we're going to do a bunch of touristy places in general. Plus, try to see if we can fit in at least one other show before we leave. We are both incredibly excited for this. My mom even has a little Hamilton countdown that she's doing on a mini chalkboard she uses as a planner. She sends me pictures every day when she changes it. It's cute. In January, I began dating this guy that I'll refer to as Josh. We were casual/not exclusive for a while, but became serious within the last 2 months. He also works in the corporate side of entertainment, but at a different agency than I do. He also has a higher position than me and makes a lot more money than I do. This becomes important. We met in an industry event and we hit it off instantly. I thought I could get really serious about this guy, and up to this point there have been no red flags that I've seen. Although, to be honest, right now I'm sifting through all of my memories to see if there's something I missed. He also comes from a much wealthier family than I do. Josh has a younger sister that I'll call Jennifer, 17, that's kind of going through a big troubled teen phase. She cuts class, smokes, and is really disrespectful to her parents. I've only met her once, but as far as I know, she's not doing anything too bad. She's just kind of a sad kid and could really benefit from some therapy. I floated this by Josh, but he said his parents are kind of disdain of therapy in general. Josh says they can't reach out to her no matter what they do, and they've tried everything, except trying to get her to a counselor. But whatever. Actual problem time. Sunday night, I was at my place with Josh. We were drinking wine and cuddling while watching the Tonys Theater Awards show. My mom was texting me during the Hamilton performance and geeking out about how excited she was. I laughed and showed my mom's text to Josh because I thought it was so adorable. And he didn't say anything off, but he was acting kind of strange after. He asked me what date the show we were going to was. I told him, and then he went into the other room to take a phone call. I thought nothing of it because we both have to take random phone calls like that for our jobs all the time, and is going through kind of a tough time it is. He was in an unusually good mood afterwards and said he had to go home early because he had to sign some forms at the office early tomorrow, before we met up to get brunch with his parents later that day. Again, nothing too unusual, and pretty common with the both of us. He picks me up at work for the brunch with his parents, and again, he's in an unusually good mood. I ask what's up, and he says vaguely that things are going well at the office and this deal he's trying to make is finally going through. I don't really press for info because we both try to avoid work topics, partially due to work stuff being fairly banal, and partially because we both have to sign some pretty gnarly NDAs a lot of the time. And this is only my second time meeting his parents, so I'm still a bit nervous about brunch. We get to the brunch place. And the first thing his mom does when she sees me is give me a huge warm hug and profusely thanks me for my kindness. His dad also gives me a huge handshake and thanks me for helping out with Jen. I'm kind of WTFing because I have no clue what they're talking about. I ask what she means, and she says for giving her the Hamilton tickets. I turn around to Josh and he just had this big grin on his face. Guys, that time my boyfriend was away talking on the phone for business, he was actually on the phone with Jen, promising that I would give her my Hamilton tickets. I was so thrown off by this that I kind of not very tactfully, I admit, say how I had no clue about this. Josh looks angry, and his parents are equally thrown off. But instead of getting mad at Josh, his mom just says, "Well, you can still give them to her though, right?" And they all look at me like I'm supposed to just agree with this. And I try to explain that the trip is actually for me and my mom, and how important this is to my mom. All three of them start going on about how Jen is super excited about this, and that this is the first time that she's not been mad / expressed happiness to them in a while. And that's how the next half hour goes basically, until the parents leave, mad, and the dad calls me a selfish cow. I'm so flabbergasted that I just sort of put up with it, but I could barely get a word in. Josh and I go outside a brunch place and he starts screaming at me about my selfishness, and how Jen is going through a much harder time than they thought. He wasn't very clear on this, so I'm not quite sure what it meant. And that I'm being childish because it's just a musical. I hate having arguments in public. Also, this is one of my favorite brunch spots and I wanted to be able to come back without being embarrassed, so I wasn't really engaging. He eventually called me the C word and then left in his car, which is awkward as hell because it was valet parking, so he was just kind of stewing by the valet stand while I was waiting for my Uber. Later that night, I texted him saying while I wasn't giving up my tickets, there are still some available on that date. However, they cost about $2,500 due to ticket scalpers jacking up the price. Believe me, this is not a problem for either the parents or my boyfriend. He literally just bought a $3,000 watch for funsies last week. But the only response I got was that was an exorbitant fee, which I agree, but not the point he refuses to pay. And that he didn't understand why I couldn't just give the tickets to Jen. I also got texts from both his parents pleading with me to give the tickets. And also they forwarded an email to me that Jen sent to Josh and her parents, thanking them for the surprise. Apparently, she's also obsessed with Hamilton and this is making her year. Also, we live in LA. Do they also expect me to give up my plane ticket / hotel? What was their game plan here? Look, I completely understand wanting to help out with Jen, and I feel really bad that apparently her family's filled with weirdos. But this has been also baffling, and the entitled behavior they displayed is a massive turnoff. I'm not giving up these tickets, but I also kind of want to cut my losses here. The attitude Josh displayed towards me outside of the brunch place was very unpleasant to say the least. And he knows how disrespectful I find being called a C word, so I'm of half a mind to just break up with him. He knew I had these tickets for a while, and I don't get why he decided to do this now at all. But should I contact Jen and explain it all? I just saw that he made a really excited post on Facebook about it. I'm not friends with her, but I'm friends with my boyfriend and he liked her post. I would straight up buy the ticket for her. But frankly, I can't afford those prices because I'm saving up for the New York trip for my mom. How do I move forward? Now for the top advice before reading the update. This is really bizarre and I think you should break up. I'm super confused though still, as I'm sure are you. Who would think this was a reasonable way to go about things in a million years? I really don't understand how we can see texts from Opie's mom freaking out with excitement about going to see this show and immediately think that the tickets are up for grabs. What a narcissistic a-hole. No wonder Jen is having such a hard time. She's being raised by narcissistic a-holes like these people. I genuinely feel bad for Jen. I didn't go into detail about this because my post was already way too long, but the email I was forwarded made me cry. She's having a really tough time as being a teen girl in LA sucks. And the Hamilton tickets made her feel like she was actually being listened to / understood by her parents. This is all messed up. So, they not only gave your tickets away, but they didn't even tell Jen it was from you? They just took credit for it? She thanks them several times, so I'm fairly certain they said it was a gift from them. There's no way I'm giving up the ticket still, but frankly, after the limited interaction I've had with her parents, I can definitely understand why she's acting out. Now for the update. Yeah, I'm typing up an email dumping him right now. Normally, I think it's better to meet up in real life for things like this. But his behavior both during and outside brunch was scary, and I would prefer not to be alone with him right now. Maybe that's paranoid, but better safe than sorry. I think this is one of those situations where everything was so crazy, and they were acting like this is totally normal behavior, that I thought I was the insane one.